Okay, the date today is May 26th, 2019, and we are going to have our springtime flower and fruit set report. This is a time of year that you anxiously walk around in your groves to see what kind of fruit set you're getting. And, it seems to be totally random. These trees seem to be alternate bearing sometimes. Certain weather conditions, like if it's really super hot, like 100 degrees during the flowering, the flowers will all drop. If it's raining, the bees won't come out. It's been doing that a lot this year. If it's cold, the bees won't come out. All those things. All I can say is, you know what? Get the bees to your garden any way you can. That's the biggest thing you can do. But I come out here every year trying to see if I can find patterns, what's actually going on and why things do what they do. And this year is just as perplexing as any. And I'll show you why. So here we are. First of all, my easiest tree to film, and I want you to know how dedicated I am to show you how I'm walking around my hill on these flip-flops. I really should have gotten my soccer cleats out here, but I was lame and didn't, so I'll be slipping around all over out there with the dry grass. Okay, so you can see here on the little Avocado / Wirtz tree, we had a really heavy flowering this year, which is fantastic. And oh, look, there's a really good filming opportunity right there. What is that? That's one of the bigger first avocados that's setting. Now, what's interesting is that these trees will often set their fruit earlier, higher up on the tree. And I always wonder, what is that about? Usually maybe the bees are more up there and they're just seeing it more and they're landing up there more. But that's what happens. Because what's interesting, it's not like the tree sends tons of nutrients up there, because all these trees, they start by sucking up all the nutrients from the ground, and they go up the tree, and you will always end up seeing more growth and everything on the lower part of the tree first, and then working its way up to the top where all the nutrients eventually make it. But anyway, for whatever reason, so it doesn't make any sense that the avocados would be fruiting on top faster than the bottom from a nutrient uptake standpoint, because that's the last part of the tree to get nutrients when they really start to metabolize in the spring. But anyway, I'm not sure why that is, but it seems to be consistent with all the trees. Now you'll see here's kind of a close-up of some flowers. And you'll see, like, for instance, right here, those are some little immature fruit. And a lot of times these flowers will just want to fall off. They'll just break off. And then other times they'll hang on. Like if you do this to a lot of flowers, they'll just break off. But those are just clinging. And I don't know what causes the structural ability of the flower to maintain itself. That's one of the mysteries I've been grappling with over time. But anyway, this tree here is setting its fruit. It's hard to see, but they're in there. And here's a pregnant flower right here. I could tell it's pregnant. It's kind of fattened out a little bit right there. And it's holding, look, you can push on it and it won't break. Just like that. Okay. So these are the fun things you could do with your avocado. I think I'm going to get a huge amount of fruit this year in this tree. This year I didn't get, from last spring, I got some fruit. I didn't get nearly as many as from the year before, but they're in here. They're hiding around, and now they're getting ripe because it's been a full year they've been on the tree. The fruit will hang on this tree ready to eat until probably October. But I think we're going to get a ton of fruit on this tree this year. Look, here's one right here. There's a nice one. All right, nice fruit. So there'll be a lot of fruit in this tree this year. Okay, next up, and this is what frustrates me. This is a Fuerte, and it's to me, it just looks like there's very few fruit on this tree. Look at this flower, for instance, okay? There's a lot of, it looks like there's one fruit, right? But nowhere near the density of fruit that the little Avocado has right now. And the little Avocado is considered to be a little more tropical. And it really takes a close inspection to see what's going on here. It does look like we're gonna get some pretty good fruit after I really take a good close look at it. This tree's been frustrating because it hasn't really fruited that much. And so, like I have another forte. Oh, there's a nice fruit right over there. Can you see that? Can I zoom that? It's gonna be really hard to walk over there. Right. Well, let's see. See if I can get it. Right here. Oh! Things I do for you guys. There's a nice one. So maybe I will get some fruit set on this forte. It just seems like it's just a weaker flower set, you know, or fruit set. I mean, look at all these flowers. There's nothing on the. Oh no, there's one. Anyway, maybe I should hold off my judgment on the forte, on this particular forte, for a while. It seems also that the more cold hardy the trees are, the more they fruit earlier. This here is a Mexicola Grande. This one usually fruits pretty well, but I don't see too much fruit on it right now. The flowers, there's still some flowers that are kind of shut, and so there's still opportunity for it to set fruit. Like here's some, those are flower spikes that have nothing on them that have fallen off. You can see the Fuerte has a bigger leaf, kind of a different look. And then what you'll notice about plants like Nabal, that's fruit from last April. There's a bunch up in the tree up in there, hiding away. But this is a more tropical version. It flowers later. Like there's not one flower that's open on this tree now. Oh, there's one. It's just right there, just starting to open. So they are very much delayed in their flowering in the more tropical trees. The other thing that happens that's interesting is that most of these trees will flower first, then leaf. This one actually will leaf first and then flower. So it's a little bit different. So that one's going to be a little later. We can't really tell what's going on with that one yet. I have a hoss tree that's always been struggling down here. I always thought it was going to die. It's been in the ground for, look at this sad little Charlie Brown avocado tree. It's been in the ground for like 18 years. And yeah, I abuse it. Probably doesn't get that much water or anything. It's finally starting to take off. I don't see much. See, here's the leaf structure on a regular hoss. There's some flowers in here. I don't really see any fruit yet. It might be a little early to tell if we're going to get some fruit. But the thing about these avocados, guys, is that every flush of growth is going to make energy for the next year's flush of growth. So every leaf you get this year will cause 3 to be made next year. So anything that decelerates the growth of the tree, whether it be abusive growing like I did, the deer eating it, which they did, and lack of watering, which probably happened as well, any of that's going to slow down the development of the tree. So keep that in mind. So anything you can do to get leaf material to go out, make energy for future growth and bulk the tree up, which did not happen to this tree. But look, it's finally coming around. That tree still has hope. That's an interesting experiment right there. Now here is a tree. This is a Stewart, and there's very little fruit set on this one from what I can see. I mean, this one flowers pretty much the earliest. And look, these are flower spikes right there. I don't see any fruit at all. And sometimes this tree gets loaded. So go figure, right? And it's much less tropical than the little Cado. So there's nothing really that explains why these trees behave the way they do. So I get all this hate mail sometimes, like, my tree's not fruiting. Like, well, mine isn't either. I'm gonna start calling you and complaining. But I do know this, if you don't plant any avocado trees, you'll never have any fruit. Now here's a curious tree. This is another Fuerte. This tree had no fruit for like 5 or 6 years when I planted it, and it did really well. And then out of nowhere, I think it had 2 fruit one year. But then out of nowhere, one year, it just went crazy and was loaded with more fruit than I've ever seen a tree hold of that size. I mean, it's just absurd how much fruit it had. And then the next year after that, it had no fruit. And then the year after that, it had some, but nothing like that one year. In fact, there's photographs on my internet site showing a tree that's loaded full of fruit, and it's this tree. But here we go. Looks like this year we are going to get some fruit on the Fuerte, on this particular Fuerte. Here's one here I can see. So there's one right there I can see. So there you go. Fuerte looks like it's going to load up this year. And despite being nearly dry farmed at this point and no fertilizer ever, I've mulched the trees, but I've never fertilized these trees ever. Your trees should look much prettier than my trees because you should be treating your trees nicely. I don't have the ability or capacity to, but anyway, it's a good experiment to show how tough these trees are because of how I grow them. Now look at this. This is the earliest fruiter. This is a Mexicola, and it flowers earliest, it fruits earliest. We'll be able to eat this one earliest. Look at all the fruit up there. I get a silhouette. There is a ton of fruit right up in there. So we're gonna get a lot of fruit. This particular tree, I'm not sure if it's Mexicola in general, but this particular tree makes a lot of fruit. There's some more Fuertes over there. I'm not gonna go over there. We're gonna examine a couple other trees here just for fun. Here are the white sapote trees. They're flowering out. Get a lot of fruit every year on those trees. They're really predictable. This is another reason why it's good to have multiple avocado trees for seasonality of production. You get 2 or 3 different kind of trees. You can have avocados all year. If you get trees with different flowering types, then it'll boost your production. But most importantly, the other thing is watch my video for spraying Sunny D on your avocado trees, which I just did. Made another video. Check that one out. That's like a theory of basically putting anything sweet that bees love on your flowering trees, which will then attract the bees and you'll get a heavier fruit set. So I just did that. Now, here's an interesting tree, Daily 11, I think, or something like Daily 11 that's unique from goodness knows where. See, here's evidence of my Sunny D experiment. But anyway, this tree had huge fruit that I picked last year. I made a great video on it. Then it had no fruit this year. And it's flowering very little this year. So the flowers it did have, I just dosed them with a bunch of Sunny D. And this one flowers later. It actually sends its new growth out first and then it flowers. So there's really no indication of fruit on this one yet. This one over here is Zutano. Zutano always fruits really well here. And you can see this one. It's probably gonna have a lot of fruit. There's a early fruit right there. So I suspect they're kind of covering the tree. So I think this one's gonna be a heavy setter this year. I noticed over here with my Jim bacon, it looks like that one is gonna do really well this year with the amount of fruit it's gonna get. Take a look. It's so exciting this time of year. Some of my favorite things to do. Just remember to bring your soccer cleats next time, Gary. Look at this. There's a ton of fruit on this one already. This is also an early setting variety. So you can really see that, this time of year, you can really see all the fruit on it. There's a ton up there. And so, and then we have bacon over here. And I see a little bit of fruit on this tree. Here's some bacon fruit that I'll be picking right now, a year after it's set on the tree. They're a little smaller this year because my watering system is totally down. I don't have time to fix it. I got too many people calling me wanting stuff for their own gardens. But it makes for a wonderful experiment to see how drought tolerant these trees are. Now this year we've had prolonged coolness and a lot of spring rain. So we had some very even temperatures. And like I said, look, there's not many fruit up in this cluster. Maybe one. You'd expect more than that. Like compared to the Jim bacon next door, the bacon is not setting that much fruit for this year. But yeah, so you always want to maybe make notes on the conditions of the year and see if you pick up any patterns. But this year it was really mild and we had no heat waves at all. Kind of cold, so maybe the bees didn't come out. But it's really hard to tell at this point because these flowers are still open here. and we'll see if they're gonna set fruit. Look at all those. There's a lot of flowers that haven't even opened yet on this one. So the verdict is still out on the bacon tree. Got a few others, little ones. I'm not sure if they even flowered, but we'll go take a look at them. Here's a lamb haas. Here's a lamb haas from last year. If I see any flowers at all, I see a fruit. There's a little fruit inside there. Yep. You see that? So looks like we got a couple coming off this little guy here. I don't expect much from these little trees. Here's another one. Let's see if that one's gonna hold on or break off. Oh, look, it's holding. That's actually a fruit. Looks like it's gonna fruit nut on me. And there are some hidden fruit. There's some hidden flowers in here, I see. So maybe we'll get a few fruit off this guy this year. Here's another one hanging here from last year. This time last year, there's some flowers up there. Anyway, we'll see what happens with the lamb haas. There's one more lamb over here, a little guy. Let's see how that looks. And that will complete the fruit set report for this season. So this is the problem. The deer go crazy in this garden. They decimate anything they can. Sometimes they knock the cages over, and then they eat back the plants. Like they've actually eaten the plant right there. That's from the deer. Not just the deer, the damn deer. We need to start harvesting this deer and making some grass-fed meals out of them. Reduce their population. There's more deer here now than there ever has been because all the mountain lions got scared away. And now there's water sources anywhere you want. It used to be that the water sources were only down in the rivers, and the mountain lion would simply wait there for the deer to come and then have his lunch. But now the deer can get water anywhere they want. They have no predators except for cars on the road, which you hear down there. So the deer population is out of control. And what's funny is we're destroying the earth in cattle production, and yet it's illegal to harvest the deer, who are causing all the problems and causing wrecks on the road. Sometimes even kill people because people run off the road in the ravine when they're trying to avoid the deer. There's a fruit right there. Anyway, maybe I could have a rant about that someday. I have lots of rants. So there you go. That's the fruit set for the year. And it's like I got some zutanos hanging way up behind the tree that I forgot to pick. Didn't see those. And so we'll follow up and do another fruit report, maybe in another 2, 3, 4 weeks. And we'll see what actually set when compared to this video of what we saw right now. And that, my friends, is over and out.